stance right about the issue.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you for what has been a very intelligent and thoughtful discussion on the issue. My name is Ladd Everitt. I'm the Director of Communications at the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence. Professor Winkler, I have a question for you, kind of a follow-up on this argument that you've made in Gunfight that gun control is racist. And you talked a minute ago about this assertion that even the Ku Klux Klan was a gun control organization. On our staff at the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence, we have 3 survivors of gun violence. People whose loved ones were shot and in 2 cases killed. I've been working in this movement for a decade. I've met hundreds of gun violence survivors across the country. And I have a very hard time seeing what, if anything, they have in common with hooded racists who terrorized and killed African Americans because of the color of their skin. When I talk to these gun violence survivors and ask them, why are you fighting for stronger gun laws? In almost all cases, they'll tell me because the tragedy I went through I feel was entirely unnecessary, and I want to spare other families the pain that my family has been through. We don't call real estate agents racist because property laws have been discriminatory against African Americans throughout history. We don't call ballot clerks racist because suffrage was denied to African Americans for so long a time. Why would you promote what I really feel is such a hurtful charge against gun violence prevention activists, a charge that was really confined prior to the release of your book, Gunfight, to the most extreme and darkest corners of the pro-gun movement?
Well, I don't agree with your with the premise, which is that that Gunfight argues that gun control is racist. I think the story I tell in Gunfight is that historically gun laws have often been used to oppress racial minorities, and that's just a fact. I mean, I don't think that it means gun control today, all gun control laws today are racist. I don't make that argument at all in the book. But the truth is we should confront this history, and I don't think avoiding that history is something that's worth our time. I mean, the Founding Fathers had racially discriminatory gun laws. I think that helps inform their idea that the Second Amendment was not a libertarian license for anyone to have a gun anytime they want, but that they balanced gun rights with what they thought was appropriate for public welfare. What they thought was appropriate for public welfare is not what we think is appropriate for public welfare today, and we shouldn't follow their model. But the idea that they were balancing gun rights with gun control, I think, is something that we should take forward into today. And the story of the links between racism and gun control, it's an unfortunate part of our history, but it's there, and I don't think that, and I think they're actually really fascinating stories that are really interesting and that we should know about. You mentioned ballots. I think there's still a lot of skepticism in America, especially among people who are supporters of CAP, perhaps, that think that when we see new ballot restrictions being adopted in states that have a history of racism, we're skeptical that maybe race is still playing a quiet role in shaping those laws, and we want to second guess those reform efforts for that reason. I do think that gun laws historically have been tied to race and racism, and we should take that seriously when we're thinking about a gun control law today. Does that mean we can't adopt gun control? I think I've said repeatedly today that I'm in favor of a variety of different kinds of restrictions. I don't think shoring up background checks is racist. I don't think closing the terrorist gap on background checks is racist. Although I think in all of those cases, especially people on the left, should be sensitive to the history of racism and not dismiss it as if it's somehow something we've moved past and moved beyond. I think in most areas of law we should continue to be skeptical of legislation where there is a history of race and racism. Gun laws are no different in that sense. But I certainly don't subscribe to the idea that all gun control is racist and that we can't have gun control because of that history of race. I just think we have to approach it with more nuance.